Is the Samsung Galaxy A11 worth buying in 2021? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Hey everybody, this is Andre here covering for Kevin on the Kevin Breeze channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Samsung Galaxy A11. You can get this phone factory unlocked for GSM carriers. For more information on pricing and availability, be sure to check the link in the description below. Now this phone comes with a 6.4-inch TFT display with a resolution of 720p and a PPI of 268. The phone has an aspect ratio of 19.5 by 9 and a screen to body ratio of 81.6%. We have a hole punch for the front-facing camera, which is really great. I really like hole punch front-facing cameras. And this camera is 8 megapixels. This is also pretty nice. A lot of phones in this price range end up having 5 megapixels for the front-facing camera, so it's nice to have 8 instead. This phone has 32 gigabytes of internal storage with SD card expansion. Now, I've definitely seen worse, but at the same time, I personally wish it was 64. I've seen a lot of other phones in this same price range have 64 gigabytes, and I personally think that extra storage really does make a difference. Now, to give you an idea of what this looks like, I have everything I use on a daily basis downloaded onto the phone, and it's taking up 46% of the storage. Now, if you have a really minimalistic approach when it comes to using your smartphone and don't have a whole lot of apps or media on the phone, then this could work for you. And you can also expand the storage with a micro SD card, but I personally prefer to have most of my storage, if not all of it, on the phone itself. And if you have a lot of apps, especially larger ones, you would definitely benefit from having larger internal storage instead of having to rely on the micro SD card. So again, 32 gigabytes is okay, I guess, but I really wish it was 64 instead. Now there's no wireless charging on this phone, but we do have a fingerprint scanner on the back. Let's go ahead and give that a try now. There we go. Let's try one more time. As you can see, the fingerprint scanner is very fast and responsive. Now, as you can see here, there's also face unlock on it, which is really nice. I like having a couple different options to choose from when unlocking my phone, and face unlock is something I do use often, so it's really good to see that. We have a triple camera setup here with a 13 megapixel rear camera, a 5 megapixel ultra wide, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. The ultra wide camera is really nice to see, and also the depth sensing camera is going to enhance portrait mode, so that is great as well. This is the normal camera of the phone, and then to go to ultra wide, you hit this button right here. To go into portrait mode, you hit the live focus right here. This also works for the front facing camera. This is the front facing camera, of course. You can also use portrait mode for this camera as well by hitting the live focus again. And you get the blurred out background. Now the picture of this camera is pretty decent, but personally, I don't think that it's high quality enough for me to use on a regular basis. I would say if you're just taking a few pictures here and there just for fun, without having any intention of using them for a professional purpose, I would say this camera is decent. But if you're trying to take pictures for professional reasons, if you're doing photography, some sort of social media or content creation, then this camera might not be enough for you, and you might want to look at a device with a higher quality camera. We're doing a quick test of the video mode of this camera. Right now we are shooting in 1080p, and also keep in mind the audio quality. As you can see, that was the video mode of the camera. I definitely think the video is decent. It only shoots in 1080p and not 4K, which is not too much of a surprise considering this is a more entry-level phone. Another thing to keep in mind is that although it does shoot in 1080p, the phone's display is actually 720p, so when you shoot the video, you're still going to be viewing it on the device in 720p. Another thing to note is the audio quality of the phone. It wasn't really bad, but at the same time, I think it could be a lot better. I did have it at full volume, and the audio was a bit fuzzy and slightly distorted. Now, a lot of other phones are much worse, but I have seen a few in this price bracket that do sound a little bit better, so that is something to keep in mind. Of course, if you use headphones or a speaker, it's not really that big a deal, but I personally use the phone speaker often, so it's definitely something that I notice. If you're like me and you don't really use headphones a whole lot, then it's definitely going to make a difference. Now internally, we're getting 2 gigabytes of RAM with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 450 processor. I ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on this phone, and it has a single core score of 129 and a multi-core score of 488. So you're definitely not going to be doing the more intense activities on this. If you're looking for a device for just basic activities like making calls, sending text messages, and doing some light web browsing and content consumption, then this is definitely going to work out. But if you're doing more intense activity like gaming and photo and video editing, then you're going to want to look for a more powerful device. Overall, with this in mind, I think it's important to really think about what you're going to be using your phone for, because if you're looking for a little bit higher performance or want something a little bit faster, then there are a lot of other phones a step up from this one for not much more that are going to get the job done better for you. There are phones like the Moto G Power and even the Samsung Galaxy A31 that have a little bit stronger processors and are going to be able to handle a little bit more intense activities. Now for the battery, this phone has a 4000 milliamp hour battery with 15 watt fast charging. This is great. It's going to give you a lot of battery life and it's definitely going to last for a while. The phone also does run on Android 10. Now that we've gone over some of the specs of the phone, let's take a look at the hardware. Up top, we got our 3.5mm headphone jack, and right here is the noise canceling microphone, and of course our earpiece and our front facing camera. On the bottom of the phone, we have the microphone, a USB-C charging port, and the speaker. On the left side, we have the slot for the SIM card and the micro SD card. On the right side, there's a volume up button, the volume down button, and the power button. On the back of the phone, we have our camera setup as well as our speaker. There's also a Samsung logo at the bottom towards the middle. Overall, the phone has a sleek, modern design that I think will age really well. The hole punch front-facing camera is really good. It definitely goes with the thin bezels and gives it a cleaner look. That being said, the phone is really lightweight, and although it doesn't feel cheap, it doesn't feel like a high-end phone either. The back is made of a glossy white material, and one really big plus to this is you don't really notice fingerprints at all. And now, let's take a look at what's inside the box. So in here we have our quick start guide, a USB-C cable, a wall charger, a SIM card removal tool, and a pair of 3.5mm headphones. Now in conclusion, is this phone worth buying in 2021? Honestly, I don't think this is a bad phone, and I don't think you would regret it if you did buy it, but I do think there are a lot of other phones out there in this price bracket that are a better value. The processor of this phone is decent, but it definitely leaves something to be desired. If you're using this phone for anything other than basic activities, you're most likely going to be left wanting more with this processor because it's not going to be able to handle more heavy content consumption and stuff like photo editing, video editing, and gaming. In addition to that, although the camera really isn't that bad, it's not really great either, and if you're using the camera for content creation, like taking a lot of pictures or shooting video, it doesn't shoot in 4K, and the quality of the photos it takes, especially with portrait mode, definitely leave more to be desired. So with that being said, although I don't think this is a bad phone, and it does have some really nice features and a nice design, I don't think that I would buy this phone in 2021, simply because there are a lot of better options out there. Then again, if you're only using a device for basic activities and you can get a great deal on it, then it could definitely provide some good value. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.